What's up, everybody? This is Jay with the Fight of Faith. I'm sitting here with Gray and Jess Maynard, and thank you guys for coming on. Can you guys still hear me okay?
Yeah, thank you.
All right, yeah. In a previous episode, I interviewed Gray before, so thank you for that, man. I just wanted to, the topic of nutrition and diet came up organically in our conversation in the last podcast. So we were kind of thinking about it would be a good podcast alone just to hone in on nutrition and what we're eating, what we're feeding our bodies, especially for athletes like you. And but I also want to introduce Jess to the conversation because we were discussing before we started recording what you do for a living as a clinical nutritionist, medicine practitioner. So do you guys want to kind of describe your guys' lifestyle as a family in your household? What do you guys eat? What do you stay away from? What do you guys like to do?
Okay. I'll describe it. And mainly we eat at home. That's kind of what we've done is controlled our own food that's going into our body by, buying it, knowing where it's coming from and just knowing what we're getting, right? Instead of going to a restaurant. And every now and again we go to a restaurant, and we have a good time and we go out to eat because kids like that too. I mean, everybody does. It's a good atmosphere, but as far as like eating on a day-to-day basis, we're eating at home and we kind of source our good meats and our good fishes, and we know the companies to go through, do a little bit of research on all those, and of course our greens. We go to the farmers market or
Shout out to
Sprouts,
Produce.
Trader Joe's. Yeah. Rod's. We believe in trying to get it from farm to table as quick as possible.
Nice.
That's our belief, I mean, like, other than that, Jess can go into a little bit more detail of like how we eat, but a lot of greens, a little bit of meat, and a lot of fish, and just knowing where it's coming from, and a good brand.
Okay. How about you, Jess? Coming from your background, maybe how that kind of overflows into your personal life with your family?
Yeah, sure. So I have a master's in human nutrition and functional medicine. I'm sitting for my boards in a few months for my CNS, which is certified nutrition specialist. It's kind of one of the highest accolades in the nutrition world.
Wow.
It actually, conventional way is registered dietitian, but the CNS exam actually trumps the conventional, in the sense of there's so much more information as far as like nutrition and genetics, nutrition, right? And different components of drug nutrient interactions, kind of more pathological based, so more disease nutrient based, and understanding how to basically help people heal through food, lifestyle, interventions, versus normal conventional pharmaceutical, conventional ways of treating disease. So, like Gray was saying, we're really simple, actually.
Okay.
Really.
That's good. I'm looking forward to hear, because guys like me, because guys like me kind of get lost in the sauce with so much information out there trying to be better or do better.
Sure. Well, we live in the information age, right? So we have so much information on the internet, and I think that people get so lost within the sauce, right? Like there's so many fad diets. I mean, the latest is the ketogenic, right? And the paleo and low carb. And, but as you notice over time, these ways of eating just get cycled through. So the ketogenic diet is a glorified Atkins, and so on and so forth. So as you'll see, like the diet and fitness and nutrition industry, like really, they're multi-billion-dollar industry that capitalizes on people who don't really know and who just want a quick fix to lose weight, right? And so all of these ways of eating are okay. I mean, if it works for you, right? If it works for you, great. Like if you lose weight, if that's what you're looking for. But in our family, it's not, we're not looking. No. And how I practice, I actually don't take clients that are looking to lose weight. That's an organic process that happens within, but my clients usually come to me because they don't feel good, right? And so we're fixing the inner, not the outer. But once you fix the inner, the outer always comes with it, right? So, so along the way with our family, our like morals and values with food and nutrition and lifestyle really are simplicity. We eat as clean, which I think is very relative. It's very relative to what people think, but fruits and vegetables and nuts and seeds and whole grains and organic as much as we can, depending on what we can get. And we do the best we can. We do traditional diet. We love fish, eggs, and keep raw. We do raw milk and kefir to help with the, microbiome and help nurture like the good gut bacteria. We do sauerkrauts. We just try to stay as close to the traditional way of eating as possible. And then we have balance too. And then I make cookies. Right. I was going to ask, now be honest, how often is that cheat meal? How often you guys get burgers? How realistic can we look at that? Yeah. So that's the other side of it too, right? So we don't ever look at eating something as a cheat. Okay. Because that sets you up for a disordered way of looking at food, right? So we don't want to look at food as a cheat or a not cheat. We want to look at food as, okay, so sometimes we have this because it tastes good and it feels good, but we know there's, some things that might not be so great for our bodies, but we're still going to eat it because it's not going to hurt us, right? Mm-hmm. So right. So it's not cheat meal, but if I do make cookies, but I do the best I can without doing processed sugars, processed flours, right? So you do the best of the worst, right? Mm-hmm. You try to get like almond flour instead of, like GMO'd wheat flour. And
me and my daughter just polished off a whole batch
of cookies that I made, and I was so pissed because I didn't get any.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah.
Sharing is caring.
Yeah.
Well, for you, Gray, especially with all the fighters that you deal with, you're a coach, you're a fighter and everything. Is there a common ground when it comes to diet amongst fighters? A lot of guys sticking with keto, a lot of guys just only eating clean in camps? What does that look like for the fight world?
Yeah. So you just kind of nailed it on the head. It's like, oh, well, I'm in camp, I'm eating clean now. And it's like, man, life is a camp, we're talking about your lifetime, not just one fight, right?
That's good.
And, you need to be eating clean all year. And there can be even in training camp, if we're busy with the kids or whatever, and we got to order something out or whatever, it doesn't hurt me because, that's all year. I'm eating clean all year, and it's hard to say I'm just eating the way we eat, and
okay.
But clean's not like rice, chicken, and broccoli.
Yeah, plain rice, chicken, and broccoli.
No.
Right. It could be good food.
My technique, what I cook every morning, not every morning, but most morning is I'll chop up a whole bunch of power greens and then poach a little bit of eggs, throw some olive oil on it, chop up some toast maybe with a bunch of raw butter on it, and you know, like mix it all together. And like to us, that's like better than pancakes and the syrup. And you know, you just start getting to the point to where you know what makes you feel good every day, and you want that, right? You crave that instead. And every now and again you still crave, you know, going out to eat or whatever, but you know what, how it makes you feel, you know, a little tired afterwards, or you know, the next day you got a little bit of bubble guts.
Oh
So,
yeah, dude.
you
You
know,
regret it the next day.
yeah, but and it does take a little bit of while to start getting your groove and what you like, and just knowing how to cook it, and you know, spending a little bit of time on it. But again, you go to the European countries, their dinners last 3 hours.
Wow.
You know, just because they're socializing and they have good meals and clean meals, but like clean is still a good meal. Like it might be pasta, but it's all fresh vegetables and marinara sauce and a little bit of pasta, a little bit of red wine. You know, I mean, it's still a good meal, but
it's all great food.
It's all fresh, non-GMO, right? Like not ridden with all the shit that unfortunately we've allowed into our country, right?
Yeah, and that's the kind of thing I wanted to ask about, because just to give a little background with what my family is like. So I grew up in Hawaii, eggs, spam, and white rice, mac salad, right? And that was my favorite stuff to eat, dude. Like, still is low key, but it's been a while since I ate that. And both of my parents are diabetic, but my dad ended up passing away to a heart attack. So he hated to go to the doctors, never went for a checkup, but that really shocked me and like really lit a fire under my butt to be like, okay, like I gotta, just kickboxing every once in a while isn't gonna cut it. Like I need to get healthy. Like, so I changed everything. I watched Game Changers, right? I'm sure you guys saw the documentary, but I think it's almost like propaganda to me. I just like, I gotta have meat sometime. Like, that's what I was going to ask you with you guys. Some diseases out there claim to be hereditary or genetic, like diabetes, whatever. But do you think that a lot of it is inflicted just from obesity in general in America? Like, what do you have to say about that, Jess?
So it's a bit complicated, but yes and no. And we're all genetically tied to some sort of disease, right? Like we all have genetics to something.
We're all prone to something.
Of course. And it's a matter of expressing or not expressing. So just because it lies within our genes doesn't necessarily mean that we will express it, right?
Gotcha.
So this is where functional medicine is kind of this beautiful new way of thinking, right? It is the fact that, yes, we do have epigenetics and we do have these genetic predispositions, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to happen. Mm-hmm. So the way is that you do look at your lifestyle, and it is diet, of course, but stress, right? Stress is one of the biggest components of the expression of these genetic pathologies, right? And so diet and stress really is kind of the key and the foundation to expressing these things that happen. So yes, obesity definitely is a key factor, and it's a big epidemic, and culturally and in religions, right? And you see it depending on where you live, your demographic, and so on and so forth. But you don't have to turn those genes on, right? You don't. Right. You don't have to, and it's also not a matter of dieting your whole life. And like I said, eating brown rice and broccoli and chicken breast, right? Right? Yeah. And
so boring.
It's so boring and so gross. And I think even then the psychological part can almost express those things too, right? Because
Sure.
then you're stressed out because you're like, oh, I hate my food. I hate this. Right?
Drive you
And
crazy.
drives you crazy. So it's a balance, and it's finding what works for your body.
Yeah.
Not what works for everybody else, and not what the diet and nutrition industry is telling you to do, but you have to listen to your body and what works for you. And then if you need a nutritionist to help you guide and get different choices and different substitutions for stuff that you like, then so you do that, right? But
yeah,
it's all a matter of listening to your body.
Yeah, I was thinking about taking even like a blood test or something to see if there's anything I'm prone to. Because when I eat certain foods, my face feels inflamed, like feels rounder. Like, so was that because of sodium or because I had the rice, or like, I almost want to take a test to see if there's something I could like adjust my diet to. Because if they can just give me a test like, hey, you're sensitive to carbs, like, or if you're sensitive to this, I wish I would know. But it's kind of like a trial and error thing for me, because after watching Game Changers about the veganism stuff, the vegans, but also like everyone else that has a healthy diet includes meat, includes milk and cheese, whole grains, like, that's where I'm kind of at a crossroads with, because I've been leaning more towards plant-based, but I know eventually I'm going to eat meat. So I try to be a vegetarian as much as I can. I've been losing weight and I feel great, but I can't turn down a good steak or like, some fish. So, and Gray, you mentioned you eat meat in your diet, whole grains and everything. So have you ever tried the vegan thing? You ever tried vegetarian, or have you always been solid with just whole grains, clean proteins?
Yeah, we tried vegan,
Okay.
for a little bit before Jess kind of like went to the schooling and the master's degree. But Jess works with a lot of people's blood work. That's how you dive a little bit deeper.
Right.
And, and then you can get even deeper with like all your genes and stuff. And Jess can kind of go into that a little bit more.
Yeah. So I was vegetarian from 13 until 33. So I was a veg, and I was a Division I athlete. And at a certain time in my time, my coach was like, you need some chicken, you need some like real protein, right? Like,
yeah.
And that was in the late 90s, and which was fine, and whatever. And then we went totally vegan. For a year, maybe a year.
How was that though? Was it miserable, or was it?
No, because we were able to substitute, and it takes time.
Yeah,
gotcha.
All of that stuff just takes time, right? And
we went into it not really like knowing that was going to be like a life-changing event, but just kind of like, let's see what it is. You know, I mean, a lot of our stuff is like just experimenting. And, over the time, just experimenting with, a lot of different, diets. And then just obviously like went to a school where she studied basically every diet like out there.
Right.
And,
too, in like the biochemistry and different genetic factors with different nutrients. And basically it's complicated. Right? Yeah. Like I can't tell you like what to do, right? Like it's so individual. It's so bio-individual.
Well, you talked about like how your genes are like predisposed to diabetes or so everybody's different, and everybody has to find their own path and their own
that's good.
Like way to live, because it's like, throwing tires on a truck compared to like a race car,
Yeah.
It's just different for everybody, and what you do and how you live. And that's why it starts getting complicated for people. Right. Mm-hmm. And that's why, Jess is around and people like her are around is to start, and then you got to start weeding out the good information and the bad information. the research-based information, and just start to work a little bit on yourself, and not, taking in the whole, well, this works for everybody, or because nothing works for everybody, and don't let anybody tell you that one thing like works for everybody.
Right.
So it's just trying to weed out, just what works for you, and I mean, as human beings, I mean, we have this base of like what we need to eat, but also, we need to start choosing, better options for ourselves.
Yeah, definitely. That's why I think that's what it came down to me for, is like I grew up eating chicken sandwiches, ice cream sandwiches, rice, everything. But as of late, like I said, given the situation with my dad, it's more like me trying to step back. Like, why do I feel inflamed after I eat certain foods? What food did I just eat that caused that? Like what? So the two biggest paths that I see a lot of people doing is like vegetarian diet, vegan, or keto. And it doesn't have to be, like you said, it doesn't have to be so straight shot one way for me. I'm finding my path. But what I've been noticing is that when I'm trying to eat clean proteins, plant-based proteins from like veggies or whole grains, right? But you're susceptible to having a lot of carbs, right? Like if you're trying to get protein out of rice or out of greens, or, maybe it's too much carbs for me. I don't know. But then people like Game Changers would say that that's the cleanest way to get protein, instead of, I don't know if this is true, if you can attest to this, Jess, but apparently the protein in the meat is only from the grass fed that the animal was being fed. I don't know if that's true or what. So that's the balance I'm trying to find. Is there cholesterol in meat? Is there protein in grains?
Sure. Well, thank you for bringing that up. I mean, Game Changers, that caused a big riff in my world. Mm-hmm. So, because again, there's lots of people that want you to join their club, right? And there's physicians that have researched plant-based diets and have seen amazing results, especially for cardiometabolic issues and cardiovascular disease, right? So you have your subset, you have your DASH diet, you have some of these amazing physicians that have done this minimal research, I should say. And then you want people to jump on their narrative and their agenda, right? Mm-hmm. Just like the keto world, just like any fad, they want you to believe what they believe, and they will recruit you. However, and Netflix is a good platform for that, right? Like all these Hulu and Prime Video and all these places where they're able to really deliver their platform, basically, right? Gotcha. And it's great. It's good information. Hey, listen, eating veggies is the best thing ever, right? Really, getting fruits and vegetables, evidence-based research. Mediterranean diet is the most studied diet of all time ever. And that's why they always recommend it. You'll go to any cardiologist, you can see any Western medicine physician, and in the Mediterranean diet with, right, a little bit of carbs, a little bit of meat, your olive oil, your healthy monosaturated fats, like that is the way to live your life, right?
Wow, yeah.
Because of the evidence-based research, they have years and years of it, right? But Gotcha. Then the vegan diets and the keto diets and all of these other things that kind of interrupt it, yeah, it helps, right? All these things, but at the end of the day, there's no long-term research with keto diets except for with epilepsy. So that's where they started ketogenic diets, was in the epileptic, right, world. And then paleo came in. There's no evidence base that says anything that helps with any disease prevention or regression. But anecdotally, it helps people because guess what? Anytime you change your diet from eating a SAD diet, standard American diet, you're going to lose weight and you're going to feel great.
Yeah.
So you stop eating shit. You stop eating processed carbs. You stop drinking soda. You stop drinking beer. You stop doing all the things and whatever. You go vegan, hey, you're going to feel awesome for a few months.
Yeah.
But guess what? Where are you getting your B12 from? How are you absorbing, like you're only getting non-heme iron? You're going to, like, some people have genetic mutations that don't allow for certain absorption of certain vitamins. So it's so, like I said, it's complicated. So at the end of the day, all of this stuff that gets thrown at you, game changers, great. Good for them. Putting out vegetables. Yeah, eat your vegetables, man.
Yeah.
Eat it. Eat your vegetables. Have 5 servings a day, minimum. But guess what? Have a little meat too, and have a little carbohydrate, and throw some fats in there.
Great.
Right?
Great news.
Totally. And guess what? Have some dark chocolate. And you know what? Have a piece of cake every once in a while. It's not going to kill you.
Nice.
You know?
Yeah. That's great. Cause what I'm like I shared, I think I said this before we started recording, is just like, Gray, when I see you feeding your son on the high chair a bunch of like hummus and dates and like healthy stuff, that's motivational, man. Like my son's asking for cheese puffs, you know what I'm saying? That is the way to go about. And so was it easy for you guys to implement that with the kids, or did they naturally go along with it and find it tasty?
And so we had our daughter, and it was kind of a crazy time when we had our daughter, and we kind of raised her a little bit more on smoothies, right? A lot of smoothies, and we kind of feel that kind of got that sweet tooth going a little bit, you know. And now she's, not really craves all the time, but she's a little bit more picky, about her stuff. But we still have her eating her eggs and good smoothies, and we add in the greens in the smoothies and
egg yolks.
Egg yolks,
really?
Raw egg yolks.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, egg yolks are, you can't beat it.
You can't beat the egg yolk. The yolk is like master nutrition, right? Like that's like,
wow.
And that's why we poach our eggs, is because you still have the yolk. You're not frying an egg. Obviously, when you fry something and cook it at high temps, you get the carcinogens, which is believed to be cancer causing. And
wow. So it's better to keep the yolk running.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay.
When you scramble,
when we poach eggs, it's just heat, right? It's just water heat. It's not like frying it. So poached eggs are good. And then even raw yolk is even better if you can put it in a smoothie, take out the egg whites. But, our boy, we learned a little bit off our daughter, and then we added into our boy, and our boy, he loves salmon eggs.
Wow.
He loves he eats sardines. We'll slip in a little bit of liver in with ground beef. We try to buy ground beef at times with the liver in it. He'll eat that. Sardines, I probably mentioned that, but just getting that taste early is a big key. And
early.
I mean, he's still a little off on greens. He's kind of like, 2 years old. I don't think I want to do that yet.
That's okay. I throw it in smoothies and he has no idea.
Yeah, they don't know it.
He doesn't know. I make waffle, right? So I make waffles and pancakes, right? Because kids love that stuff, right? But I throw spirulina, I throw spinach, I throw like berries, and I throw a little bit of like sunflower seeds and pumpkin seeds and walnuts.
He eats his nuts every morning.
And he loves it. right?
Wow.
So
every morning we
you
have.
just sneak that stuff in there, and especially young, they don't know, and they actually like learn to love it. You know,
just use a waffle.
Yeah.
he sees a waffle. It's just the shape, right?
Yeah.
And the look. You throw a little honey on it. Yeah, it's funny.
Mind over
It is
matter.
funny.
And so, and real quick question about fruits that I've had some ketogenic friends tell me, you know how we were discussing, Gray, about how sugar is the new addiction, like worldwide, like sugar is an epidemic. But do we draw the line with even like natural sugars? Like, is there such thing as too much fruit? Or
my boy eats berries every morning, you know.
Right.
Berries are low glycemic, right?
Sure.
Yeah. Berries are low glycemic. You just have to kind of know, like, okay, I'm not going to give them pineapple all day.
Right.
And bananas
and banana all day.
Grapes and things, you know, that are super high in sugar.
Gotcha.
But the ketogenic world is very interesting, and the fear coming from my background is you have to have antioxidants.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to say.
Right?
Berries
you
are
have to have these powerhouses that fight off these free radicals. We have plenty of ketogenic friends too, right?
Gotcha.
But guess what? They eat bacon, and they eat processed cheese, and they eat all the stuff that
oil, avocado, all these fats. Yeah.
Yeah, but no, but the bacon, like the stuff, they grill their meat and they blacken their chicken. I mean, those are the things that actually are like, they have advanced glycation end products, and they have all of these like heterocycloamines, which actually at the end of the day cause cancer, right? So although the idea of a ketogenic diet is great, there's also layers of that can be picked through.
Gotcha.
If you're doing it wrong, you're doing it wrong, right? You're causing more harm long term than you are losing your 35 pounds and looking svelte and beautiful for that 6 months, right? Like,
you can't live off just bacon and
processed cheese and shit.
Processed cheese.
Dang.
You know.
I know. So then there's that.
When I did
side
a little bit of low carb, like I read this book, and again, like that's what we do. We like to try out stuff, but you know, I read a really good book, and it was more about like fasting and getting your body adapted to keto, and you know, to be able to fast a little bit, you know, to get a week to where you fast. Anyways, a smart guy, and what's his name again?
Dan Pompa, Dr. Dan Pompa.
Yeah, Dr. Dan Pompa. Mm-hmm. And anyways, he had a good menu in the book, like to where it wasn't, you know, ton of meat and a ton of dairy product. It was like chia seeds and coconut milk in the morning, and you're still getting you know, good plant-based food, you know, throughout the day. Wow. And you know, of course, you know, it was good. You know, I liked it, and he's even a big advocate of changing your diet throughout the year. You know, changing your diet throughout the week, throughout the month.
Wow.
You know.
Like go keto for a couple months and then go back to normal eating, carb load, and then go keto and then go, right? So it's like this cycling. So your body has time to adjust, but it doesn't have time to adapt completely to, right, like a certain fat cycle or carbohydrate or, I don't know. It's a different theory. It's a different theory, and it's obviously not studied. But it's a different theory, and it works for men. So
you know,
that's another side of it too. So I'm going to tell you, there's sex differences and gender differences, right? So you have to be so careful with men and women and their dietary habits. So
this is a touchy subject nowadays, guys.
Well, it is. I mean, it really.
What if I identify as a woman? I want to eat the woman diet.
Right.
I'm just playing.
No, but they're really ramping up on evidence-based research with females only, and in exercise physiology, I don't know if you know this, but they only have 8 studies ever done on only females in exercise phys studies.
Wow.
And so we're extrapolating all of this evidence-based research and applying it to women in sports, which is really dangerous, and it's very reckless for how we train our female athletes, especially our young athletes, especially our marathoners, our triathletes.
It's a different chemical makeup, hormonal makeup, you know?
Sure. I mean, it's very logical, right? I mean, even you that you understand that the sex and gender differences are completely opposite. And we've only had 8 studies in this time of life that are only based on females. And they're generating more now that this has come to light, but especially performance. We take all of the data from 18 to 23-year-old young men doing endurance sports. That's the research they do because they can control that in a lab.
Right.
And we're taking all that information and applying it to all of our female athletes.
Yeah, it's dangerous.
In different hormone phases, and they have no idea how they're affecting these women in their performance. So anyways, but it's happening, and it's, everybody's waking up and understanding that, the good old boys are done with research and it's time to move forward and look at women too. Right.
Right.
For anybody that's kind of looking for just like quick information, would you recommend kind of the Mediterranean diet?
Right.
Just for like a nutritional.
I don't know. I mean, listen, it's so hard.
Sorry about that.
No, it's hard. So that's a loaded question, I think, because it's really hard to know, I mean, my scope is so different, right? So
because it varies from person to person, blood work, chemical makeup, history, genetics.
Yeah. And depending on how far we can go with that, like we do have depths, right? There's lots, especially in the functional medicine world. I think we kind of, our platform and kind of what we promote, it's good and bad at the same time, but we're able to like go pretty deep and test and see where you're at in your micronutrients, your macronutrients, your genetics, food allergies. I mean, you name it. Like we have a really broad stool, your microbiome, right? Like all the things that make you up. It's not just one thing. Mediterranean diet, is great. Like as a basis, if I were to say something, of course, evidence-based, I mean,
look at them like an elimination diet to check check how they feel.
I mean, elimination diet too, but that changes per person. If you have a disordered way of looking at food, it's hard to put somebody on elimination diet. I mean, it's hard. It varies, right? Elimination.
What the elimination diet is like. Explain it.
You take the top allergens out of the diet for like a 3 to 4 week period of time. So top allergens being egg, soy, dairy, gluten, a lot of the times like nightshades, and you remove all that stuff for 3 weeks. And you implement like a really simple diet, and then you start introducing one thing at a time, and then you can see what's affecting the person if you can't afford to do blood testing and those things, right? But sometimes elimination diet, I think, sometimes it can be a little too much for people. I think it can be too hard. Like a lot of practitioners in my field, they'll do that, and that's like kind of their gold standard. But I think sometimes that's a bit too hard. I think
it is
being
tough.
realistic and be like, nope, you can't have this, and you can't have the top 5, and they're like, what do I eat?
You can't live a life like that, right?
No, and that's that, right? Unless you listen, unless you have severe allergies and you have severe issues, then I believe in doing that. But if not, then we go gentle, right? Like you look at some things, you tweak some things, we talk about some things, and then I think leading the horse to water is kind of my foundation, right? Like,
yeah.
I think when you can really figure it out for yourself, and I'm not going to teach you anything that you probably inherently don't already know, right? Like, I just guide. It's all like facilitation, it's like, but you have to do the work. And I think as human beings, like, I think we innately know what we really have to do, right?
Yeah.
I think
definitely.
we feel that in our souls and our beings, but I think with all the outside influences and hedonism and comfort and convenience, it kind of overtakes our minds, really, right?
Yeah, I'm going to see if my wife can ask you this last question, because she had a question, and let me see if she can ask it, join us somehow. Sure. Hey, babe, you want to ask them a question about what you asked me about affordable, healthy, what did you say? Because she texted me, are you podcasting? You want to ask or no? Are you too shy? Put some clothes on. Hold on. Okay, hold on. So last question, because with organic foods or healthy diets, right, it can be, unfortunately, the cheap crap and the processed crap is the most accessible, right? Most affordable. So is there some type of solution to meet in the middle, to have someone who's trying to eat healthier, someone trying to have organic, like, because I felt so convicted or conflicted when I saw like organic beans in a can full of sodium. It's like, what? Maybe I should just buy a bag and just like soak it. I don't know.
You know that. Like, there you go.
Yeah.
Right?
So
boom.
There's a price to pay
that.
to eat healthy, right?
Yeah. So, okay. So that's also really complicated, and it goes back to like big ag and,
just go to Rod's Produce Market for your organic produce.
Yeah. So if you want to buy organic and go a cheaper route, you obviously have to buy in season. So there's like, there's a website, ewg.org, and it tells you your clean 15 and your dirty dozen. So like, there's some things that you have to buy organic, right?
Right.
Because they're fully loaded. And there's a lot of things that you don't have to buy organic, right? And that you can save your money on. And then there's like beans. Buy a bag, soak them, throw a little like vinegar or like lemon juice overnight, soak that in water, and you're good. Gotcha. Like, it does, convenience is what I was talking about, right? Like, we live by convenience. But if you just take maybe an extra day to soak your beans, you don't have to buy the canned organic that are $2 more, right? Like,
right.
Yeah, there's ways you soak, and even if you can't afford organic berries or things like that, you soak them, put a little vinegar. You can make a wash. There's some really amazing recipes online that you can get to wash your fruits and veggies to try to extract as much as you can. Organic isn't what it seems also. I mean, it's the best of the worst, right? Like, it's still getting sprayed.
I'm a truck driver, as I was telling Gray before we started. I'm a truck driver, and sometimes the truck stops don't have the healthiest stuff. So I have to prep meal and try to do my best, but I do eventually run out of food if I'm gone out for like a week.
Yeah.
So if there's a Subway nearby, I do that, or something.
Whatever. Yeah.
I mean, here's kind of what I do. Like if I'm traveling, I travel with canned oysters, canned sardines, and like I buy these little grape leaf wraps, and this is all at Trader Joe's,
Yeah.
a couple bucks each can, and I buy these little grape leaves like wrapped in quinoa, and there's good oil in there, and I'll pull those two out, some oysters and some grape leaves, or sardines. I'll throw some cracker, buy a box of crackers, and eat those with them. I really feel like that's one thing like America kind of doesn't eat enough of, is like fish products. good fish products, sardines, oysters, salmon roe, salmon. We're all going after that tuna, that high mercury tuna that's in the sushi roll, and that's probably one of the worst fishes you can eat.
Wow. Yeah, I was going to say, where do you guys get your meat products? I mean, because even fish, I heard they dye the salmon pink. I heard it's, if it's farmed, it's not wild caught, it's not well for you.
And, so here's our take on spending more on food is you're either going to pay now or you're going to pay in the long run with health issues. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of the trade-off, and you go to Europe, they spend a lot of money on their food because that's a big deal to them, the clean, well, and it's not even clean, but just big meals with, all the parents there and the kids and the relatives.
Fresh local produce.
Yeah, and they cook and they do all kinds of good stuff. And with us, that's kind of what we wanted to implement in our family is just, understanding that we want to spend a little bit more now to kind of save later, so buying our fish products are a little bit more because we go through a company out in Washington that knows where to fish the good fish, and it is a little expensive, but
it's an investment.
How do you put a price tag on health? And then also,
I agree.
Like we try to buy half a cow from a small farm, at times.
Store all the meat.
If we can't do that, we try to look at good meats at Trader Joe's. Trader Joe's is kind of the cheapest out of everybody, and we try to get the good meats there, or we try to go to Sprouts.
Gotcha.
Whole Foods, it gets a little expensive. You just try to
but
do
it
the
comes
best
from
you
the same
can.
place. We're finding out like Whole Foods and Trader Joe's, and they're all sourcing their shit from the same place.
It's just more expensive.
Yep. Just rebranded.
It's just rebranded, repackaged to suit whatever it is. So we can have another episode about the true politics behind our meat processing and our meat packaging and what's happening really.
But that's what you got to decide is hey, do I want to spend an hour on Instagram kind of scrolling through, or do I want to spend an hour trying to locate a good farm to where I could buy a quarter of a cow? Maybe I'm spending $600, but that's going to last me 6 months or 8 months, for my family. But I know where that cow is coming from, and I can talk to the farmer, and I can,
grass-fed.
Or even if it's grain finished, or even if it's not processed with a bunch of antibiotics and a bunch of crazy stuff, or you just try to do a little bit of research, and that's where it comes into play is putting in a little bit of time to knowing what's going into your body, because everybody's into looking at how to make money, but what happens when that health is gone? That money don't matter.
That's right.
So if you guys can put a little bit of research into where your food's coming from, and ultimately I was gonna just kind of get to this was it's not really about the diet. It's just knowing where your food comes from, and also Whole Foods, right? Not Whole Foods a store, but Whole Foods you're throwing in some greens, and you're throwing on some sardines, or you're throwing on a little meat, and you're mixing it up with some olive oil, and you try not to buy the cheapest olive oil because olive oil is
it's tainted, right?
With
canola and all the other shit that they like to do to our stuff, right?
Right.
Yeah. Where do you guys live?
Well, I'm in Arizona right now working, but because I'm a truck driver, so I deliver in Phoenix tomorrow morning, but I'm headed back home to Henderson. tomorrow.
Oh, you live in Vegas?
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Okay. All right, cool.
Yeah. I met Gray at the Rod's Produce Market through Drew.
Yeah. Oh, cool. Okay, awesome. Yeah, they're great. And, there's a CSA in town, too, that they're a little pricey, but they're in Overton, and they actually do meat and they do produce, and they're a cute little farm. And they're called Quail Hollow. They're awesome. And, they do, like, basically they deliver to certain locations and a weekly basket of seasonal veggies that they grow, and meats and eggs. And so anyways, there's options. You just have to kind of,
but if you can get to Rod's, where that's coming from, right? Where that's coming
straight from Cali.
Straight. Yeah. Yep.
And, again, it's just not really about the diet. It's just kind of adding in like all the main sources and using your judgment, the stuff that we all know inherently just because of, lifetime of, or generations of eating and like, springtime. Yeah. Berries are great because it's growing at that time, so changing it up, like maybe you're eating more berries in spring and
more apples in the fall, right? Because that's when they're supposed to be growing, right? Like those are the times when soil's rich and beautiful and full of all the nutrients. But yeah,
perfect.
Anyway.
Yeah, no, thank you. Thank you guys so much. I've learned so much, and me and my wife are like on this journey. You guys are inspiring us. Like, thank you so much for all the information and for your time, because it's really helpful.
And
let us know whatever you need.
Like, again, just to go off that is like that seed, it gets planted and then it starts growing. You just don't have information right off the bat, and you just don't like, it's like, it's a process, and that happened to us a long time ago. It's like, hey, like, I want to take care of our body a little bit more. Oh, okay. And then we start having kids, and then it's like, okay, how do we really help their brain grow and their, their body grow and so you're doing a great job, and
I'm trying.
You're past the starting point, way past the starting point,
I'll tell you what,
wanting to learn.
Especially when like I was like 280 pounds at one point. You work your butt off, and you lose a little pounds, but you're still eating junk. Then you come, like I come up and grow and realize, like, you know what, like it's more about what I put in. It's not about what I do, because there's so many skinny people that don't work out. Like, it's not fair, right? Well, they actually eat well. That's why they don't even have to work out, that's the process that I'm in. Okay, it's more about what I eat and making those healthy choices. And what was that diet you mentioned in the book, Dr. Dan
Pompa?
Would you guys, Gray, would you be able to send me like a screenshot or something of that diet? Does he have a chart or something?
Yeah, I actually have a post on Instagram. Like I met him at one of the anti-aging clinics, or
conferences.
It was a conference, and great guy, and he has a lot of good information, and fasting has became a little bit more popular, and there's a lot of benefits to it, and it might be for some people, but yes, check through my Instagram, and it's me with 2 other guys, and his book's on there. He's a great guy, and his whole deal goes back to, like, as humans, we would have to change our diet throughout the year because of what was available,
the seasons,
right? And so variations, are key to us, the human, like eating berries and trying to eat stuff in season, just in general, because that's what the earth puts out for you, and to eat at that time.
Yeah. Perfect, guys. Thank you so much again. I couldn't thank enough. Sorry we went a little bit over, I think.
No worries. We can talk about this all night.
Yeah.
And hey, pretty soon you're going to be able to talk about this to another person all night, you know?
Yeah.
So keep on the path, man. It's not addicting. It's not addicting because it's your life. So, you know, that's
it's spiritual for me.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah, it is, man.
Well, it's awareness, right?
Yeah.
It's awareness.
Really
and that's
is.
like the foundation of what I think everybody is kind of leaning towards in this state of the world is awareness. Like what is really going on, right? Like we can't trust anybody else but ourselves to figure out what's going on. So just be aware, man, and conscious for our people, right?
Right. Thank you. Thank you guys so much.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, appreciate you having us on, bud.
Thank you.
Yeah, man. Anytime, and keep in touch. I'm sure I'll see you at the produce market one of these days.
For sure.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Guys, this was the Fight of Faith, and good night to Gray and Jess Maynard. God bless.